Welcome you specially to Spark Up Africa podcast, where we talk about everything that concerns Africa, Africans, both in Africa and in the diaspora. We are going to talk about so many things, but today we are starting with mental health. And the focus is who cares for mental health carers and care workers, who care for their own mental health. Now, you can bear witness with me that that Europe is a continent that has aging population. And in the UK here, they have a system of, where they call care homes, where old people who have dementia, who have Alzheimer, who have age-related degeneration, they are taken to those places and they are taken care of by nurses and by care workers. And some of these care workers, they came from Africa and other countries. And they have to deal with issue of visa, issue of COS to stay in the country to work. And there are many, many issues that they deal with. Now, you look at the working hours, they work for 12 hours shift from 8 in the morning to 8 p.m., from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. And some families, some people have families, they have wife, husband. I'm just trying to lay the foundation. Now, these are people that they either take care of old people, and some of these old people could be very aggressive. And eventually, somebody that you used to stay with, you bonded with them, and you come to work one day, the person is dead. I want us to look at the effect of taking care of those who have mental health on the mental health of those taking care of them. So that is going to be the focus of our conversation today.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you know, just like you said, in the UK we have aging population, and the aging population,
Yeah,
most of them have mental problem because looking at the UK Europe kind of setting,
yeah,
men, dementia it's a mental degeneration that
yeah, yeah,
affects aging people.
yeah,
So you will see that most people from other continents of the world come into Europe to care for these people as a
yeah,
source of livelihood for them
yeah.
and their family. So, and it is very important for you that is caring for someone to be cared for. So sometimes I call it caring for the carers.
And now the question is, do you think the same way that they have structures, institutionalized structure to take to ensure that the carers take care of these people, of the aged, do you think that there are structures that are put in place equally to safeguard the carer?
No, in every organization, they have policies that care for carers. There are unions that carers need to belong to for their own safety, for their for them to be cared for. And there are policies or there are structures in place in
Okay.
every establishment that I know that cares for carers. So it's for carers now to know those policies, to know those establishments for
Okay.
them to take advantage of for their own benefit.
Okay.
You just don't only come to work and care for people without knowing those things that is of advantage to you caring for other people.
Okay.
So every organization have policies and procedures that you can take advantage of. It's left for you to know those bodies or those structures that are in place in your organization.
Okay, now the question I want to ask: do you think that caring for the mental health need of those who have mental health issue affects the mental health of the carer?
Yeah.
And if it affects, how do you think it affects?
You know, I've come in contact with some people that have worked in the care sector and even in other sector, but we're talking about the care sector. They would tell you that for over the years they have
Yeah.
been working with those with mental issues, with
Okay.
dementia. They begin to see themselves replicating
The
the
things.
way things those people in the care setting
Yeah.
do. For example, they start saying things that a dementia patient usually say, because the more time they spend
They
with such
spend.
person,
Yeah.
they begin to behave in such a way that the person behave.
Oh.
And others will tell you that they hear sound in their sleep,
Mm.
because in a care setting, when a resident wants the attention of an individual, there
Yeah.
is what is called the call bell or the buzzer.
The
He
buzzer.
press the buzzer or the
Yeah.
call bell to call the attention of a carer. So when the sound gets to your brain,
Mm.
when you are in your sleep, sometimes you feel like you are in a care setting, and most of them say that they wake up from sleep
Mm.
because they hear the sound of the buzzer or an individual's voice that constantly call on their name.
Mm.
Because one thing with this dementia, when a dementia patient or resident gets a word, he keeps repeating that word.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. That's
And
true.
when the carer stays with such person over time, it sticks to the carer's brain, and the carer himself will not know when
He begins to say
he
those things
begins to
or
say those things or
begin to
begin to
behave
hear those voice
like
in
the
his head
person he's taking care of.
or begin to behave like the person is taking care of.
Wow. That is. I think I believe that somebody exposed to that kind of environment, the mental health of that person too should be something that the organization should consciously look into it and see how help is given.
Yeah, the organizations have done a lot in that direction. There are many things that they have done. For example, you have time off work, but it's so bad that some people refuse to take time off work. You can have a contract hour with an establishment to work for certain hours.
Yeah.
But for some, the quest for money, some running away from responsibility at home,
Mm.
decide to take more time at work. So in most organizations, you have say 5 to 6 weeks off work in a year, and you'll be
Mm.
paid for it.
Wow.
So
That's in the
there
UK.
is
In the UK here.
in the UK.
Good.
So there is need for you to know when it is time for you to take a break from work.
Mm.
You can utilize 1 or 2 weeks of out of the 5 6 weeks you've been given to go away from the care setting,
Mm.
go for refreshing, go for retreat,
Vacation.
go for vacation, stay away from care setting and give your attention to another thing.
Oh. Oh.
And there are time you work in a week. Some work twice a week,
Yeah.
3 times a week, but
Four
some go
times.
as far as
7 days a
seven
week.
days a week, 14 days a week, 14 days at a stretch. All
Wow.
these have effect on your mental state.
Oh.
So it is important to know when to break away from work and when
Oh.
to go back to work.
Okay, there's a question here. What does prolonged exposure to human suffering, dementia, aggression, deterioration, and death do to a care worker psychologically and emotionally, particularly when they have to return to work or shift after shift? So, what do you think somebody exposed to The long, there are people that have worked in care home for 20 years, and some of them work in EMI, that is elderly, mentally infirmed. These are people with high, the dementia is advanced.
Mm.
Now, there are people that work in those environments for a long time, seeing human suffering. You look at a complete human being, but something has taken over the person. The person is not in his, more or less in his rightful state of mind. So, being exposed to this environment over and over and over and over again, and equally experiencing death. What are other psychological and emotional effects this kind of exposure do you think has on the carer?
You know, that has emotional effect on the carer.
Yeah,
Every kind of job you do have its way of affecting you negatively
yeah,
or
that's
positively.
true.
Working with aging people or aged people has a way of giving you sober reflection,
Mm,
gives you the reality of life.
mm.
You begin to see life
And we are not immortals. We are mortals.
yes, from another perspective, the
Mm,
reality of life,
mm,
that this life comes and goes.
mm,
So this life is swift.
mm,
You will see someone today hale and hearty. By the morning time you come to work, the person is gone.
mm,
So that gives you a kind of reflection about the realities of life.
mm,
So, but when you expose yourself too much to people and you emotionally attach yourself, you will see that when people like that pass on, it has a way of affecting your operation.
yeah, but
Because
yeah,
in a care setting, you are trained not to be emotionally attached to individuals because they are not your parent. You do your job with compassion, but let emotion be managed. So you have to learn, even though you are compassionate. So do not attach yourself with the individual you're
mm,
taking care of.
mm. Okay. Let's proceed to another question. Can a care worker become emotionally numb or desensitized after years of working around human suffering? And if so, how might that emotional state affect their relationships with their spouses, children, and wider family? Okay, that is, so it's somebody that has been working, see people dying over and over again. A time will come that he has no, to see people die, to see even people that have dementia or are in a state of pain. A time comes that he doesn't feel the pain, doesn't feel anything. Do you think that that kind of somebody that is exposed to that environment can later transfer that desensitivity to his family
Yes,
and relationship
yes. Here in the UK, there are six core in care,
mm,
and one of it is compassion.
in the local?
You have to work with compassion
Mm,
when it comes to caring for people.
yeah.
But over time, if you don't learn how to control your emotions, the aspect of your compassion will die out.
Mm,
So you have no compassion for the people you caring for. For example, an individual who is of bad character or evil, let's in quote, deal with you as a carer,
mm,
then the place of compassion in you, if you don't know how to control your emotion, will die out.
mm,
And you will see that you can transfer such a kind of feeling towards your family without you
mm.
not knowing. You in
Wow.
the way you relate with your children, in the way you relate with your wife. If you don't learn how to manage your emotion in work environment,
Mm,
because the resident or the patient is not behaving well towards you and you are being moved by your emotion by anger,
mm,
when you transfer such feeling or emotion to your family, you may not know.
mm,
So That's most of the time when such a kind of feeling is stirring up, you should know that it is time to take a break
Hmm.
of work.
Wow. So it therefore means that for a human being to be exposed to an environment of human suffering, you go to work for 12 hours. Sometimes you see somebody will sit down at a spot because they cannot move. And the person is shouting. You will go to him, what can I do for you? The person may even flare up and say, get out of here, or even insult you, and you still come back. You keep on seeing the suffering. There is a tendency that what you see consistently has no meaning to you again,
Yes.
because you are exposed to people suffering, so you don't feel the pain of their suffering. You are disconnected, you are detached from human suffering. And there are many carers like that, because they look at what the money and not even the people they're
Caring for.
caring for. Because over the years they come to say, "Ah, what is there?" And because of exposure to that environment, there's a possibility of being insensitive to emotional needs in family and marriages.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the next question. Many care workers work 12-hour shifts, nights, weekends, and sometimes opposite shifts from their partners just to manage childcare. So, at what point does the structure of care work begins to undermine the worker's own family and personal well-being?
Yeah, it depends on how you want to run the affairs of your household. Because you made mention of because of childcare,
Hmm.
people pattern their shift to suit their needs.
Yeah.
But when patterning your shift,
Yeah.
you need to understand that family comes first.
Hmm.
Though it is from work that you generate resources to care for your family. So, but some people don't know how to manage between the two.
Hmm.
So, for those without children, I see no need why you work opposite shift.
Hmm.
And for those with children that are advanced in age, I see no need why you work opposite shift.
Hmm.
And for those with children that needs care, it's all about the two parents, the mother and the father,
Yeah.
come together to know which one best suits the need of the family.
Hmm.
Because if it demands the father to put more effort and the mother to reduce her effort to care for the children, then let that be.
Hmm.
If it demands the vice versa,
Yeah.
then let that be.
Wow.
But because many have quest for money, they don't care about the needs of their
The
children, and
children.
that will give room for social
Care.
impact,
Yeah.
social care coming to take
Hmm.
their children
Wow.
from them.
Wow.
So this needs to be there's a need for balance
Wow.
in that.
Yeah. Even to add to it, there's a woman that told me one day that she that I'm a bad mother. I said, why did you say that? Say, well, just she will carry her children, drop with her grandmother, just be working 247. And the time came that the bond between she and the children were broken. She has children, but they are not bonded. And I believe that in many families and marriages in the UK here, especially among the migrants, because don't forget the focus is with the migrants, because we came from an environment that even don't have all this care home setting.
Yes.
And I think it's a place of study, the effect of exposure of migrants to this kind of environment of human suffering. What is the impact on them, on their families? So there are people that, you know, because of husband working at night, wife on the day shift, or vice versa, the marriage is shattered, is broken. There is no bonding point, Because as the husband is coming back, in fact, they don't even come back. They meet at maybe some of them work in the same place. The husband will is the wife is entering, the husband is going out. The wife is coming out, the husband is going, and the children are left to their own devices, and it's affecting many migrant families in the UK. So we have two more questions before we go.
Yeah.
Um, Families of residents can sometimes become frustrated, demanding, or even hostile towards carers. How should care workers deal with this pressure while also recognizing that families themselves may be struggling with grief, guilt, fear, or helplessness?
Yes. No, family of residents are really passing a lot
Mm,
because you can't imagine seeing your sane father
mm,
behaving abnormal.
mm,
You can't imagine your mother who is hale and hearty now bedridden,
mm,
or someone taking care of her without the parent having a choice for themselves.
mm,
So it's heartbreaking. But it's all about communication, and that is one of the core principle of care.
mm,
Learn to communicate both on the side of the families of residents
mm,
and the carer.
mm.
Learn to communicate and have an understanding, a common ground to meet.
Um,
So when communication is in a clear term,
mm,
understanding is inevitable.
yeah.
But some family members leave their emotion, let their emotion to override their sense of feeling. So you see that it is difficult to communicate with such people. In that situation, there are hierarchies in care setting. If you as a carer can't handle that kind of communication, there is a way you can bring in your superior to
Oh.
take the conversation and find a common ground between the management or the care setting and the family of the resident.
Yeah, I know that the families of the residents are going through a lot, as you said. Because just imagine your father, who was once your father, a man disciplining you or shouting, leave this place, do this, do that. And the time came that the person is in a state that his mind is not with him. And then it could have so much effect on them. But as you've rightly said, balance of communication becomes key to 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 ensuring that hostilities are not there.
Hmm.
So for migrant care workers in countries such as UK, there may be an additional layers of pressure, visa uncertainty, separation from family, cultural adjustment, discrimination, family and financial responsibilities, and the challenge of working in an unfamiliar environment. How does this affect their mental health?
That is one of the major factors affecting the mental health of migrants in UK,
Mm,
US, Canada, Australia, because most of them are here for a greener pasture,
yeah.
and there are many uncertainties that lies ahead.
Mm,
So day in, day out, how will they gain stability is what goes on in the minds of immigrants
mm,
in Western world. So, and there are responsibilities that is laid on their shoulder from their family back
yeah. Yeah.
in their countries. So you see that a lot is going on in the minds of immigrants in the UK. Some of them, there are cases of many that died in the bus while going home from work.
Mm,
Some die while driving home because they fall asleep on ferry.
mm,
So many things affecting the health and well-being of immigrants in the UK.
mm,
But you can't solve all the problem of life at once. So I believe in taking one step at a time. When a particular stage in your immigration status reach, try to try to sort the challenges that come with that stage before you go forward. You can't be dealing with the challenge of said sponsorship and visa while you are dealing with the challenge of building wealth in your country, while you're also dealing with the challenge of marital issues here in the UK or wherever you find yourself.
Yeah.
So, what is more important, just like in economics, you set your needs in a scale of preference, what is more important should be sorted first because your stability in the UK, US, anywhere you find yourself, is more important than the need of anybody back in your country. Because if you are not mentally stable here, you can't
Can be productive.
be productive to help anybody that you want to help anywhere
So
in the world.
finally, before we go, and this is a question for you and for everybody. If the person caring for the vulnerable is themselves becoming psychologically vulnerable, what happens to the entire care system?
When you that is caring for someone is vulnerable, the care setting, wherever it is a business setting. So, and business must continue. So, that is why it is important to care for yourself. But if you cannot be able to care for yourself, because of you, the care setting cannot go down. The care setting must continue to thrive because you against multitude. So, the multitude, I believe, is more important than you as an individual.
Thank you for your insightful contribution and see you in the next episode.
And thank you